Live shopping isn't just a trend, it's the retail revolution, and Spree is leading the way. We're here to show businesses the magic of using video and social media to skyrocket sales and expand their audience. At Spree, we're all about making your sales savvy and your connections rock solid. So let's dive in and make your retail dreams come true.
Hello, everyone.
We are live.
We are live. First time in 2025.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Welcome. I'm happy to be
I'm
here.
excited to be. I've been waiting for this for a long time now.
Yeah, so have we all.
Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year and welcome to the show. First of the year, so thank you all for tuning in. I'm your host, Jen Swin, and I have the distinct pleasure of guiding the conversation today. Now, I'm super excited because we're kicking off the first webinar of the year with our brand new studio setup. And does it not look sweet?
We have a new camera, so the quality should be better, makes you and I look a little bit better.
There you go.
And we have nice lights in the background, so I'm really excited with all the work that we've done.
And to be even more excited, we've got a phenomenal panel with us today, who I'm going to introduce shortly. But first, I just want to give you a quick framework for the conversation we'll be having today, because what you can expect for us to weigh in on are some of the big trends that are shaping live shopping in 2025, and what are some of the industries that we're seeing success with, and who's being a bit challenged as well in that regard. And lastly, what can you expect going forward in 2025? Some of the predictions that we have for how it's going to develop. And lastly, also some of the actionable steps that you can take to have a strong start to 2025. So without further ado, let's introduce the cast with us today.
Let's do that. Let me bring them on 1 second. And there they are.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. How you doing?
Hello.
Good.
Oh,
You're doing great. Great to be here.
Great to have you here.
Great to have you. So I'll just introduce everyone quickly, one by one. In the top right corner.
Top right. We're going full Brady Bunch mode here. Yeah.
I hope it correlates to where I'm pointing. So, so first, I'd love to introduce on the panel today, Carmen Mulli, who's joining us from Madrid, Spain. She's the founder and CEO of Paragon Social Commerce, and she has been deeply immersed in the world of live shopping since the very early days of 2016, having built a portfolio of clients in China and the Asia Pacific, and more recently, the Southern European region. So warm welcome to you, Carmen.
Carmen is the OG.
Hey. Thank you guys for having me.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Hey, we're so excited to have you with us today.
It's a pleasure. And right below Carmen, we have the one and only Alexander Lischke. So welcome, Alexander, to the show. He's the founder and managing director of Germany's first social commerce agency, Bellbird. And he's helped some of the biggest brands across Central Europe to embrace live shopping. And he has, through those efforts, steadily become a go-to thought leader in the space. So we're super excited to have you with us today, Alexander.
Welcome, Alexander.
Thank you very much. What an introduction.
Awesome. And right next to him, we, of course, have to mention that we're joined by none other than Stephen Hubbard.
Mr. Stephen Hubbard,
who's a non-executive director here at Spree. And he's been with us last year as well, at the beginning of the last year when we had the webinar to kick that year off. But yeah, he's a long-time veteran in the e-commerce space, you might say.
A seasoned professional.
Yeah, driven by years of experience in international retail. And he's built a track record of helping many UK-based SMEs and corporations transform towards a multi-channel strategy. So we are very, very grateful to have you with us today, Stephen, and we look forward to the conversations.
Welcome, Stephen.
Thank you. Should be fun.
It will be, absolutely. And last but certainly not least, I have someone with me in the studio today. It's none other than Mr. Corey Morris, who's the CMO here at Spree. And he brings with him a wealth of experience in marketing and business strategy across multiple fast-growing industries. But in particular, you're here to provide a perspective from live shopping in the Scandinavian region and North America, which I'm sure that you're excited to share with us.
I'm very much. And it's also weird hearing someone introduce me.
I know, right?
Just introducing myself. You did a great job, though.
Yeah,
Almost
yeah,
as
yeah.
if I had written that For you. No, I didn't.
You didn't. You didn't. So
thanks.
Those were my words.
I'm super excited to be here, guys. Like I said in the beginning, we've been planning this for some time now, and we have a star-studded cast with us today. So we're going to be getting into a lot of the nitty-gritty about what's happened in the past, but also what we have in store for us for 2025. It's crazy to think it's already 2025, right?
I know, right?
It's nuts.
Everyone feels old, even me.
I mentioned the Brady Bunch before. You have no idea who the Brady Bunch is. So Brad Pitt. Yeah, it's Brad Pitt.
Anyways, back on track. So let's dive into the agenda, guys, because one of the reasons we really wanted to kick off this webinar today is because so much is always happening in the live shopping space. It's a fairly new phenomenon, and we've only kind of seen it for the past 10 years, but that's why so much is happening all at once. And I think a good way for us to give the audience a perspective on a comprehensive idea of what's going on is to gather a cast like yourselves who have expertise in multiple areas of the world, because it's a global movement that we're seeing, and we want to kind of give our audience a good sense of what's happening. So to answer some of that, I wanted to put a question forth to the panel. But
do we also want to tell people, let's get the conversation started with you guys as well. So if you want to drop in the comments, tell us where you're watching from. I know I was looking at the signups and they were from all over the world. So I'd love to hear where people are chiming in from day. And also just a quick housekeeping. If you guys do have a question for any of our experts, drop them in the comments, and we will be getting to those live during the show today. So
absolutely.
And you can, no matter where you're watching from, or if it's YouTube or if it's StreamYard or LinkedIn, you can drop your questions there and they'll all be aggregated the same place.
That's very good of you to mention. And you don't need to worry. At the end of the live stream, we'll also be sending you a recording of everything in case you wanted to rewatch it or share it with some of your colleagues for some of the insights we'll be digging into today.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you.
No, of course. Yeah. So as I was about to get into, kind of want to, first of all, ask the panel today, what are some of the biggest shifts that you've seen in live shopping over the past year? Because I think 2024 was an action-packed year, and I think we can all contribute with some perspective on what we thought was quite game-changing. So I want to put it forward to you first, Carmen, because as mentioned in your introduction, you've been in this industry for a long time, kind of at the inception. So for you, what has been super interesting to observe over the course of 2024?
Well, actually, there have been a few things that I really liked this year. And of course, it's been growth. We have seen massive growth in the live shopping industry, at least here in Spain. It is growing at a rate of 30% year on year, as Insider Intelligence says. So it's a really good thing to see that, at least here in Spain, and see how many more businesses are starting to do live shopping, both bigger brands and SMBs. So we see them going live either on their e-commerce website or on different socials. And that's a really, really good sign. But then apart from that, something that I loved is the case of IKEA, that they did a live shopping show. I see Corey, I think he's interested in this one. So they created an AI host that was supporting two other hosts that were live. And I think that is a massive shift. This is something that I predicted that would happen in Europe, because it was already happening in Asia and it finally came. So I think it's a really, really good thing to see that happening. And that's kind of like the biggest highlight, I would say. But then also we're shifting from live shopping per se as entertainment commerce, which is something I would say that is what Zara did. I don't call it specifically live shopping because it was not live. I call it more like a shoppable fashion film. But still, it was a way to do live, to go live, like a recorded live, and where people could engage and purchase the products from. I would say those are like my biggest takes, like how the industry is changing. And then also in terms of China, for example, we see how they are so like in a different level, that now their live shopping is more like a TV series with short sketches, 3 minutes, where they're acting, and then people can purchase the outfits, for example, that they are using on those live shows. So that's what I see in 2024 as the biggest thing.
Yes.
I think more shoppertainment, as you say, Carmen, for myself is what I'm seeing as well, not in the UK and in the West. I think that the biggest change for me is from being the biggest evangelist of live shopping and social commerce over the last few years, to then people actually coming and approaching myself, and obviously doing talks, and actually people openly knowing a lot more about live shopping than they have done, in previous years. I think some of that is obviously driven by technology and availability of technology such as Spree and other players in the market in the West, but also I think it's just an understanding of how important, from a retailer or from a brand's perspective, it is in regards to revenue stream. And obviously where their e-commerce platforms are falling and stagnating, in many regards, the true sort of multi-channel, omni-channel approach is going to be critical, more critical than ever going into 2025. So I think that's certainly, one big development, going from the educational phase into more inquisitive and intrigue, I would say, from the retailers and brands. And I think the other shift, which I've seen, dramatic shift, is how people, as in retailers especially, going from working with in-house, teams to actually working with dedicated live commerce and social commerce agencies like Bellbird or First Live or Let's Go Live, to support them on their journey, because I think they've suddenly realized actually this is much bigger than they first thought, and as an opportunity in revenue stream, and therefore it's better to put the hands together and have your hand held, if you like, through that transition. So I think certainly the I would say the dedicated live commerce and social commerce agency is a big part to play, I think, in the last 3 months, and certainly going forward into 25 and beyond. So there's a couple of things I've seen, for sure. And I think, again, like I say, it's all around the technology, and obviously more technology is coming out to support the retailers and brands. But I think it's where that sort of nervousness and sort of, it's about demystifying it. But I think, like I say, I'm very happy to see certainly in the last quarter, a lot more larger retailers getting involved. In the UK, we've worked with people like M&M and other large high street retailers and online retailers. But also other media companies, whether it's YMU, whether it's ITV. The reality is there's a lot more intrigue, not only through retailers and brands, but also service providers and media providers as well.
Exactly. And it's one thing that Stephen rightly said is that I think like the big brands, they really want to have like a focus on their whole production side. So it's not just that they have a phone standing in the room having some influencers walking around. It's like they really want to have a show. And this was also from our end, or from the German market, was one of the biggest highlights, was the Zara stream, because that's exactly what we also at Bellbird did, like in a much smaller way, for sure, but in the months and years before, because what we say is like a show needs to be kind of an entertainment part. So we need to have like different stacks. And with Zara jumping into the live shopping market, it shook the market big time. I think they closed like 60% of their retail stores in Asia just because of the live shopping success. And this says it all. So now they are rolling it out in Europe and the US, which has sparked, I think, massive interest from other brands. And we could see this because many brands after the show were like calling us and like, hey, okay, so now we're also wanting to jump on that wagon. And in the DACH region, like Germany, Austria, Swiss, we can see exactly this movement. So also we produced shows and had shows with huge brands like S. Oliver with Copenhagen Studios. They are like really massive brands and true heavyweights, So yeah, I think this was the first really big break that fell, because before, like, everyone was like interested and everyone saw, but now people could really see like, okay, so this is how it's done, this is what the success can be, and so they wanted to jump on that. And therefore, yeah, I think in 2024 we had a explosion in also big brands like putting on a big strategy, and now we're talking in 2025 about even more. So I think those are the things that are now really getting into the right place.
I would like to add as well that obviously we are seeing now that consumers are demanding this kind of content. And so brands finally are seeing this, and they're like, oh, hey, I need to start doing live streaming, and I need to start doing live shopping, because consumers want to actually see that. They want to interact with the brands. They want to engage. They want to see what's going on. They want to see what's new. And they, of course, want to get as well the best offers possible. So it is a good thing that finally brands understand that this is something that consumers want, that it's not, okay, let's just have fun and do something and see what happens. No, it's that consumers want this now. So just go and produce more of what your consumers want.
That's a really good point. And I kind of feel from my perspective as though the whole idea of live shopping has kind of passed it's just a trend test, right? That it's it's effectively established itself as having staying power now. And we're seeing that across a bunch of different areas. First of all, we're seeing more and more brands and retailers, start using it, which is great. We're seeing the ones who started working with us about 3 years ago. Many and most of them are actually still using it, and probably even more so today than they were before. So kind of like, the original folks there have kind of figured out, what's their right strategy, when to go live, how long to go live, what time of the day, what products, what prices, and so on and so forth. And I think another thing, and just something that I noticed working in marketing, is just the media coverage around live shopping. So I do, like probably a lot of you guys, I have Google alerts for certain keywords. And just a few years ago, there weren't that many people writing about live shopping. Now my inbox gets full every day of news around live shopping, live stream selling, so on and so forth. So I feel as though that we've reached a point, almost, I wouldn't call it a tipping point, but we're nearing a tipping point where it's becoming a little bit more normalized. And I feel as though there's enough people doing it now where you can't ignore it. And I think there's enough, to your point, Carmen, there's enough consumers who've tried it now that you can't ignore it. A recent stat that just came out just before I came in here says that in 2025, they expect 37% of all Americans to try live shopping. A year ago, that was 1 out of 5, so it was only 20%. So that's a pretty significant increase. Yeah. And Europeans, 70% of all Europeans are already open to the idea of doing live shopping. So it's, if you have consumers going in this direction, the companies have to follow as well. Another thing that none of you guys mentioned, which I think is incredibly exciting in terms of a shift, let's just call it at a more macro level, is what's happening with TikTok and TikTok Shop. I think a lot of companies are actually starting to look for alternatives to TikTok because of a lot of what's going on. And that's going to be a huge boon, if you ask me, to some of the other platforms, Meta, for example, but also some of the companies that we work for. So that's kind of where I'm seeing things, or how I'm seeing things.
No, absolutely.
I think consistency is key. I think, Corey, is what you're saying there. I think that's, again, what I've seen is, retailers and brands are staying with it, and building their community, building their audiences, understanding their customers a lot more, and I think obviously, live shopping and live streaming obviously is getting a better name for itself. And even when you've got people like Gary Vee, talking about it on his weekly podcast, that helps enormously. That helps enormously, right? So, and obviously his relationship with other platforms like Whatnot. So, I think it all bodes very well, like you say, for 2025.
Yes. I mean, just an hour ago, we had Sarah Davies. She's on the Lion's Den in the UK doing a live shopping event. It's like, so this wasn't even on people's radars a year ago. And yeah, you're right, Gary Vee. I mean, he's talking about the greatest thing since sliced bread. So what's that?
No, I just heard
some feedback.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with the scratching. I don't know if did you guys hear scratching on your end?
Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know where that's coming from. It's almost like there's another person in here.
Oh yeah, playing house. Maybe Gary is like also tuning in.
Gary is here. Gary's everywhere, folks. Gary's everywhere.
Yes, he's like tuning in from New York. No, but I think you guys mentioned like also a really right track. So that's like also. From our end, like consistency is also key for live shopping shows. So when we are also talking like for 2025 now, and this is one thing that I'm always telling all our clients is often people just want to try out one show and be like, okay, so I want to see where it goes. But in the end, and there we need to be also like super honest, is you can do one show, but it's not like with one show you have the results that you are really seeking for. So what you need is like a few pieces of shows. You need a series, because after this you can see, like after 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 shows, you can see what worked out, what didn't work out. Then also what Steven said, like you could build a community on that. With one show you cannot build a community, but with like 10 shows, after this you have like a really powerful community, which is like, oh, every Tuesday my favorite brand is going live, and we see like discounts or cool games or my favorite host, or I don't know. So those are the things that are really going well. And then in the end, it's always like so the consistency is key. And also I can see from the comments what Stuart said, like rule number 1, give the people what they want. Absolutely. Rule number 2, always leave them wanting more. This is something that we also tell often our clients, and I don't want to like drag it out now into many directions, but leave them wanting more is also one thing when we talk about how long should an optimal live shopping show hold. So what we always say is like 32, let's say 35, 40 minutes max. After this, it's like, oh, the people are like happy and they want more just from the stream. But and then we just drag it out for a few shows. And this is the thing that we can see often, which works really well when we educate this.
I think
I need to add to that depends on the platform and the actual strategy, because for some brands 30 minutes will be fine, but for like if we talk about, for example, TikTok, you will need a lot more time to go live and to showcase the product. So it really depends on what you're doing, what your strategy is, how many products you're showcasing, if you actually have like a series prepared or not. And like in the case of TikTok, it is recommended to go live every day. But if you're doing it on other socials, maybe every day is too much. So it really depends on each brand, what they're doing, where they're going, and what they want to achieve.
Absolutely. It's the classic, it all depends, right?
Yeah, on the technology, 100%. Yeah, and the engagement. But I think Shannon obviously has raised one of the points as well in the questions. Can you please outline what a live stream strategy could look like, please? I mean, that again, it depends on the platform, it depends on the category, the vertical, the products, the deals, the audience themselves. But I think that's the beauty. Obviously, what Spree are doing, obviously onboarding is generating that 3-month plan of what does good look like, based on our experience within that category and within that country or region. And I think that's key, is having a partner. But I think also I'll lean against, again, what I said, where there's dedicated agencies, looking at live shopping and social commerce. I think that's why, again, the secret and the power of engaging those companies, on the journey, they can also support what good looks like, because they've got the expertise. So I think that's the easy answer, is working with obviously the right technology partner, but also the right, I would say, a content provider, or support.
Right. And just to address some of these questions that are coming in. So Shannon, thank you very much for your question. Stuart, thank you for your comments. There's lots of comments and questions come in. We're not going to be able to get to all of them. I will just say real quick that there are tons of assets on the Spree website, tons of resources, inspiration that are probably going to address a lot of these questions. If you don't find your answer there, then you're more than welcome to reach out to us, or reach out to Carmen, or reach out to Steven, or reach out to Alexander afterwards. We'll be sharing our contact details afterwards. But thank you for the questions. Keep them coming.
Yeah.
Should we move on? I'm playing time cop today, so.
So I have seen one question that I'd like to answer to, because somebody said if we think AI is going to replace hosts. And honestly, I would like to answer to that. I don't think so, because we are human, we have emotions, and we want to connect. So it is true that we can have some AI hosts, but at the end of the day, consumers want connection, and only a real person can do that. So we definitely can have an AI host to support or to do something innovative, but I don't think it's going to be a replacement per se.
No, I think with the shop attainment factor as well, Carmen, like you say, the tongue in cheek, humor, the authenticity. That's what comes with human nature.
Exactly. Connection is super important.
I think the hosts will stay human, but maybe the chatbots, like which conquer the chat, they will be more like the AI people, because now we see often like teams who are like monitoring the streams and like answering the questions. And I think this will be in the future dragged out. So there will be like better chatbots, better AI chatbots who can really rely on every question and answer those. But the people, the people in the front of the camera, they really make the show. It's like, I think this could then be the same question, like, do we see in the future just movies from Hollywood with AI actors? I don't think so, because as we exist as humanity, we love to see people performing and also, to be honest, failing. So I think one of our, like best scene shows are the ones that where not everything is like in place and everything is on time.
Something happens, right?
Everyone loves a blooper,
So. Exactly. So, and this is what also live makes it out, so when you tune into a live stream, it's like, is the technique working? Is the presenter working? Is everything else working? And for sure, at every show, I can tell you, every shows there are some hiccups. Fortunately, not like huge ones, but like small, tiny hiccups where like, okay, I don't know whether this was on purpose, but that's what makes the live stream and the show, and that's also what makes the people engage with the stream, stay on the stream, and in the end buy from the stream. I think this is the main part.
Yeah, I think it's literally keeping things real, right?
Exactly.
So we'll put the AI question to bed. Not in the near future, but I definitely think that AI is going to have a significant impact on every industry, ours included. Hopefully not replacing the humans. So great. Should we move on to the next question?
Yes. Let's shift gears real quick, because you guys dove into a lot of intricacies about how the year has gone by. But I think one really interesting thing that has developed is, again, we're seeing different industries really taking to live shopping across different markets. So that's then a question I want to put forth to the panel is, which industries, companies have you seen do particularly well in 2024? So kind of coming into its own in your respective region. So I'd first like to ask you, Stephen, if you have you noticed anything, particularly in the UK, where you've noticed, okay, this is really getting a lot of wind in its sails?
Yeah, listen, off the back of where live commerce has started, obviously predominantly in beauty and fashion, a lot of other categories have been very successful. I think the electrical area, but also anywhere where I feel there is strong community. So what I call verticals. One of which, great example is craft. So the craft community is significantly engaged in the UK and Europe, and it's a very sizable market. One of our relationships, partnerships, Steph Waitman, who owns a company called Highlight Crafts, has done phenomenally well over the last 6 months, specifically working with Spree and the team, and growing that audience and engagement, and going live from once a week to twice a week to now 4 or 5 times a week, on a daily basis. And that's creating more and more engagement. To come back to that, under your point before, it's building that audience up and people wanting more. So she's done phenomenally well. And I can see obviously other key verticals like golf, cycling, fishing, even wines and watches, where there's already engagement within those communities and verticals, we're seeing significant interest and success.
Wine is massive. Especially here in Scandinavia. I don't know where we rank in terms of consuming the most wine, but that was one that really surprised me. But if you think about it, where there's a story to be told, there's an opportunity to do live shopping, right? And I think every wine has its own unique story. And there's the people who sell wine are exceptional storytellers as well. And people can just sit and watch a wine being sold for minutes, and the amount that they're able to sell too is quite surprising. One of the ones that we've really seen is obviously, what are your biggest categories overall? Definitely still think fashion is kind of leading the pack. But if you break that down into a few verticals, I think we'll use the word that you're using, Stephen. We're seeing things across plus size fashion, especially within women. That's a huge one. It's also because there's a really strong community there. But also sportswear and shoes or footwear. shoes are one of the most difficult things to buy online because you don't really understand the fit. You don't understand a lot of the unique selling points. So live shopping is a great opportunity to do that. And then women's wear. I mean, women's wear is probably still the biggest category there. I would say second place for us, what we're seeing is probably within the health and beauty industry. And within there, then you have things like skin care and hair care and nail care. You're able to get really niche sometimes with these products, especially if you have a good social media following, which most of our customers do. So there haven't been any significant changes, but there have been some really big surprises over the last year. I think we're probably going to get a little bit more niche going forward, and I think that's a really good thing.
Yeah.
I would like to add another category, which is home decor. There's a brand here in Spain that goes live every day, every single day on Instagram, and it's called Cave, and they're just showing like their different products that they have, like either sofas or just pictures, and like how you can place them in different places in a house or in a room. And I think that's a really good way as well to sell something that like you don't need to specifically go to the shop and get it, and then you can see how it looks in different places. So I would add that one as well.
Yeah, because live shopping, or the live shows, they are all about inspiration. So when the people who are watching the streams, they are like, okay, I really want to get inspired here because I want to see like when you talk about fashion, like how can those outfits unfold? How can this be worn? How can this be adjusted with my current outfits? And when you talk about, as Carmen absolutely rightly said, is when you talk about home decor.
How would this look like in my house? How would this look like in my kitchen or in my terrace?
Exactly. So you get inspired and you're like, cool. So this is a nice candle and I can place it there. And this is a cool table book. And I don't know. So those are the things. I mean, me personally, I don't have any clue of home decor. I'm very happy that my girlfriend is doing all those stuff. But if I wouldn't have this person in my life, I would also need to jump on those live streams and get inspired because otherwise my place would look like hell.
So main takeaway, get yourself a girlfriend who knows home decor. That's good advice.
Or watch live shopping and learn more about it.
Or go on a live stream, yeah.
But that's interesting because we talked about shoppertainment, but it's also there's an educational element there as well, right? It's how to use product in a certain way. I think there's so many layers that you can build on top of just the base product here.
I want to kind of reverse the question a little bit again, because now we've talked about who's seeing success with live shopping in particular, but I also want to highlight the ones who perhaps have been a bit more challenged in their development of getting to a point in live shopping where it's really taking off to the full potential. So open question to the panel, if there are any sort of underwhelming performances that you've seen over the past year.
I think it depends on persistency. Again, it's all about sticking it out, and as Ander mentioned earlier, it's not about one or two shows. Actually, it's over a period of time and building your audience. So I think certainly in the UK and in the West in general, I think with Spree, we've seen obviously sometimes retention is not always as good as it should be, but that's purely because of people doing it in the short term rather than medium or longer term and sitting it out and getting the actual results back and building that engagement and building that community, as I said earlier, which is critical. So I think where we've seen people's the biggest lesson learned, and I always say to people, you can't look at it on a month-to-month basis. You've got to look at really in 3 to 6 month minimum, and then go from there and review accordingly. So I think that's a key lesson learned. I think for a lot of people that tried it, put the toe in the water, then came back out. But actually, the good news is they're now looking to go back into it. A lot of these guys, because they suddenly realise, actually, oh no, there is a revenue stream here, as we can see in other markets as well.
Absolutely, and what we also see, I mean, we are here now on a Spree stream also, but so we could see like many other brands who were like just trying to go live on their website, which is so back in the years, this was the start of live shopping, for example, also here in Germany. And many brands just went live on their website and thought, oh, we have like so many people who just will go on our website, have a look into the stream, and will know by chance, oh, today at 7 p.m. there will be a live stream. But this was not the case. So And this is also what Spree did, and I think absolute tremendously awesome is that we can now see that people can go live on their website. They can have the recorded version on the website. They can put their ad spend and traffic on this. But on the other side, they can also go live on Facebook and on Instagram. And what we also did, we included also like influencers for our streams. So those influencers were hosting the shows, and the influencers who were hosting the shows brought a community of 300, 400, up to 800,000 followers. So we also could go live on their channels. We could buy out of those streams. So we were with multi-channels online, and this is what was also a game changer last year. And your question now is like, who did, like underwhelming kind of one or another way is brands that did not use this, because brands often think, hey, we have like 500,000 people walking on our website a month because they see this from their numbers, but they don't really know that the people are just clicking for example, I want to search a t-shirt, but they are not going into your website and searching for, oh, there might be a live stream. And so we really need to draw attention to everything around this. And brands who did this, they did very well because we could see tremendous numbers out of multiple streams. And brands who were just focusing on their website, just doing their live stream without any ad spend, they were seeing not so good numbers. And I think this is a huge learning, but also, like, as you said, like an underwhelming experience for some brands.
I definitely agree with that. And the thing is that if there is no proper strategy, how do you expect things to work in general? So you need to let the users know that you're going to be live and what you're going to be doing and when you're going to be live. And you need to give all sorts of explanation and reminders for them to actually tune in. And I would have loved to see more, for example, in the food industry, which I haven't really seen anything great. And the same thing, I've seen a little bit of automotive industry as well, but I think there could be a lot more happening in there. And I think those are some of the niches that it would be great to explore a little bit more. And then also we're just talking about live shopping for consumers, but there's also live shopping on a B2B setting. So if there are companies that are selling products one to another, they could also use live shopping to sell those products to other companies. So this is something as well that I would like to see more of, and that I haven't really seen in 2024.
Yeah, we have quite a few examples of B2B companies who, from us, are leaning into to live shopping, and I think there's a huge growth potential there as well. Also, direct to consumer as well. So we're going to be eventually covering B2B, B2C, and D2C, which is great. On my list, I had the automotive industry, and that's almost because I'm basically just shopping cars here in Denmark. I don't know why I should be going outside of Denmark because the car prices are outrageous here. But can you guys give me a quick example, or maybe it was you, Carmen? I think, Alexander, you had some examples as well. Which car companies are actually using live shopping?
Cupra, for example, they've been doing live shopping.
Cupra,
yeah.
Okay.
And Maserati also, they had like 1-to-1.
Okay. Yeah, you would think Maserati, right? You get your own personal live shopper, so
right.
you're paying for it.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I can nothing add here, because those were the ones who were definitely going into the space. But I think also like this automotive industry has a huge potential. Not only the automotive industry, like every industry who sells like physical products has a potential to go live, because every industry that sells something that needs some kind of an explanation, that needs also all the people need to get inspired. It's I think like a perfect match for live shopping. For sure, we know that no one is doing like a impulse buy, buying a car, from a live stream. So, oh, that's nice, I will now click the car. But you definitely get inspired, and you can have the opportunity to buy from those things. So I think it's pretty cool. But any industry which is selling physical products is absolutely focused for going live in a few times.
These are a few edge cases, but we have seen homes, so real estate being sold, not so much through the live shopping event, but in terms of lead generation. So that actually led to a sell. And same thing with the travel industry. So selling destinations, promoting them in a live setting and generating leads afterwards. So it's not all about just, sales in the moment. It's also about building awareness and building your community, reaching new customers, and even doing lead gen as well. So I think that just kind of shows the really full potential of live shopping. Yeah. I think Mark Callison just shared the home being sold on the stream. That's really cool.
All right. Well, I want to then.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for all the contributions so far. Now, we've talked a lot about what's happened over the past year, because I think that really informs what's going to happen. So I would love for each of you to give one bold prediction for what's to come in live shopping for 2025. So if you can give one thing that you wholeheartedly believe is going to happen this year, what would that be? Let's start with Carmen.
So what I see is that finally brands are going to have their own social commerce teams in which they are going to have live shopping specialists.
That's a good one. That's an important one too.
Alexander.
I would say definitely more shoppable videos, because I think we are leaning into shoppable videos next year as we speak. I could see this with all my brands that are currently working on shows, so that we add on for our whole social commerce strategy, like shoppable videos. They are flexible, they are super easy to watch, they can be just put on the page, they can be well produced, and they let people shop whenever they are ready. So I think Hugo Boss had a great example here with Boss Recommends, but many other brands are now jumping on that wagon, and it's pretty cool and awesome. And I think shoppable videos will be a significant add-on for the live shopping strategy.
Completely agree.
Yeah,
I think it's a must-have by now.
Yeah.
Whatever
100%.
brand that doesn't have video and shoppable video in general is like they're not going anywhere.
Yeah, but I think it's an educational time. It's why I think it definitely 2025, Alexander, shoppable content in general in regards to social commerce as well. I think the links themselves going out to the consumer within the brands. But I think the reason for that is because, again, it's all education. A lot of the brands and retailers don't realise through Spree, you can actually drive obviously the content they're already making for a lot of their spring launches or autumn launches. You can actually make that content shoppable through the overlays, and because of that in itself is enormously valuable to the brand with any additional costs. It's just incremental revenue. So you're just making all the content shoppable. So again, that's about education, but certainly that's a big trend. And I think you touched on it earlier, Alexander. I think the other thing is social commerce in itself in its entirety, which is again where Spree comes in, is whereby you can have on-site live shopping, but actually it's the social means and the live show reminders and all the actual notifications and and gamification, which really creates that engagement and that community even more so.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Steve. Corey.
I think overall the demand, I kind of started with this, we can end with it as well. I think overall we'll see the demand for video commerce, let's just call it that, and anything that falls within that is going to continue to increase. We're also going to see this big blend of the physical and the digital combined. A lot of the content that we see on Instagram, maybe short form content as well, we'll see more of that on websites to make them move from a static shopping environment to a more dynamic shopping environment. I think that's going to come from the young consumers because that's the content that they're used to consuming. Another thing, sorry if I'm going to tag on one extra, is that I think we're going to see a surge in retail media. So brands paying for airtime on really popular live shopping events. We're already seeing this with Apple and Samsung and even some of the big fashion brands. So that's a huge business opportunity for companies as well and an incremental revenue stream. So look out for more of that in 2025.
I think Corey and I think Mark Collison makes a good point there. I think because of obviously the success and the longevity now people are seeing the brands in live shopping and live streaming, I think there are going to be dedicated teams And so actually, from an employment perspective, specialist perspective, there's going to be a lot of opportunities in the live shopping and social commerce space where people are having dedicated social media managers, and focusing on live, as a vertical in its own entirety, within the e-commerce arena.
Yeah, and then live shopping hosts, creative directors.
Yep. I mean, this whole industry is growing, right? And as the industry grows, then all the things around it have to grow as well. And we know as people who've been working in the business that one of the biggest challenges with getting companies to do it is the change management, right? It's like, okay, where does this really exciting thing fit into my organization? I don't have a live shopping team.
Somebody that understands both e-commerce and social.
Right. I think we're in, okay, here's my 2035 prediction. I think 10 years from now, we're going to be looking back and talking about this as though it's a no-brainer, right? It's like, this is like, we're talking about social media 10, 15, 20 years ago. So I think it's become a natural way of doing business. And I personally think, for someone who still values the good old deep human connection, that this is moving in the right direction.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we're getting to that turning point now. Part of one of the overarching theme I'm seeing in the conversations we're having is we're seeing us advance to the next level. And I think that's a really interesting time to be in this space. Now, the last question I want to put forth to the panel is actually also kind of on the back of the entire conversation we've had today, and also some of the comments that I've seen from our audience, is what are some of the actionable steps that you can actually take in order to take all the learnings that we've seen over the past year and kind of help that inform the strategy? We've already touched on it a little bit, but I think it would be very helpful for the audience if we leave them with kind of like a comprehensive answer to. So with everything happening in the space, what are some things that I could start implementing to see success in 2025? So
let's start with you, Alexander.
First of all, you really need to know, or really need to focus on what are your goals. So what is your target audience? What do you want to achieve? Do you want to just strengthen your revenue? Do you want to build communities? Do you want to build your brand awareness? In a cool world, all of those things are working with a good live shopping series, because you are building communities, you're building or you're strengthening brand awareness, you are really strengthening your revenue. But I think this is like a huge step forward to first define what are your goals. Then you need to define your channels. Potentially and optimally, it's like on Facebook, on Instagram, on your website, on multi-channels. And then you just need to start. You just need to start off. You don't need to build like a huge show, but you just need to work around. There are so many brands and agencies and so on outside. I mean, in Germany, there's just one really huge agency, which is like, like working those shows around. But Europe-wise, there are some agencies that you can ask. And no, on a serious note, so there are people who are really now knowing what a social commerce is all about, and they really know how to start. So you need to find your sweet spot. You need to start off and then just do shows, produce shows, go for shows. They don't need to be huge. You don't need a studio. You don't need like 5 cameras. You don't need the 800,000 follower host. But if you are also like a small brand, you just can start off pretty easily. You just need a camera, you just need the software of Spree, and then you go live, and then you try out something. And after a few takes, you can see, okay, so this developed really good. Now I want to build. So now I really want to include a concept, a show concept. I really want to include like, for example, a studio. I really want to include shoppable videos and so on. So then you can build on that. But I think the easiest way is to just start off. It's not that hard. And I mean, you guys, I know I'm working so often with you on so many projects. You guys do a great job there because, obviously you have the technique. I think you have produced like 50,000 plus shows. I don't know. So there is always help from any end, and then just start off and walk into that space.
So I think off the back of that, Alexander, I think the education side as well is key. That's where I do believe, as I mentioned earlier, I think the agencies, the dedicated live commerce and social commerce agencies are really, really will do phenomenally well in conjunction with retailers and brands working in partnership. Obviously, Spree has done a phenomenal job over the last 3 years in educating, and as Corey says, a lot of information on Spree's website. People check out, the experiences and lessons learned that we've had over the last few years. But also, I think, at the end of the day, as more and more people get in bed, people just need to look at it sensibly and have a 3 to 6 month plan. I would always say, like I say, you can't put your toe in the water. You've got to go into it in a positive frame of mind. And I think when you're looking at building the shows, you've got to think, what do the customer want? What's the point of difference? It's not, what is the deal? What is the demonstrable product? Who is educating? What does the content look like in regards to output? In regards to, is it host led, or expert led? And I think the most important thing of all is measuring that and things being tangible, but setting the bar not too high and building. As I say, it takes time to build the audience and build your community within your brand or category within your company. But I think the main thing, as I say, is being persistent with that and making sure that you learn and have the people around you, the right technology partner and right production partners that can actually support you on that journey.
Right. Good point, Steve. Now, can I share something real quick, Carmen? Yeah. This is from Sam. I think he has a really good point. He says, a really simple way of thinking about how to build your live shows and market them is to treat them like a pop-up shop that is only live for 1 hour. So I think we need to set some constraints as well, because what are you going to do within that 30, 45 minutes or how long it is? How are you going to keep people watching, make your content sticky? How are you going to make it exclusive so that you can do something here you can't do elsewhere? And that's very similar to what you do with a pop-up shop. So thanks very much, Sam, for sharing that. Carmen, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
I just wanted to agree to everything that you guys said. And the thing is that you should not sleep on live shopping. You should start practicing it, start doing it. Even if it's with something very simple. You only need a light, you only need a phone and a good internet connection, and then you can just go, just to start with. But make sure that you know what you want to achieve and where you're going to, and what are the products that you're going to sell, and like where do you want to host your live events. And then of course prepare that strategy that we've been talking about. I always say that there is a strategy that is mid-long term. So what are the shows that you're going to be hosting? When are you going to be hosting them? And then there is another, like, let's say, internal strategy within one single live shopping show, which is like what's going to happen on each specific live show, so that actually the whole series makes sense and you can actually achieve the results that you expect from every single live shopping show that you host. So this is something that you should think about as well, that you should prepare. Of course, always knowing who you're talking to, what you're presenting, what are the products that you're selling. Is it something new that you're selling, like a new collection, or is it that you want to get rid of all stock that you have there? Like depending on what you want to do and what your objectives are, then you need to do one thing or another. And of course, I recommend as well, if you are starting or if you want to go to a higher level, then counting on an agency like any of us, or a software provider that can actually help you get where you want.
Great. Awesome. Thank you. Thanks for sharing.
Those were all great insights. And I think the overarching theme I'm hearing is to, first of all, have the willingness to start, but also have a plan. And I think you guys presented in great detail how you can do that.
There's an old saying that says, if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. What's going on here? You guys all need. I'm out of
here. We're not failing here. We're doing things right because we know what works.
I'll stick with it. Resilience.
No, but I'm very glad we got around a lot of different corners of live shopping. I think we kind of touched on all the core pillars of all the amazing things that are happening in the space. And I think our audience is hopefully left with a very thorough impression of what's going to be happening for 2025. So I think we're about to wrap up now. So I'm very happy to have had you all come aboard and present your ideas. It's been an amazing conversation. I also want to plug our next webinar coming up in February the 12th. We are presenting fashion and how the fashion industry is kind of taking live shopping by storm. So that is on February 12th, and you can sign up for that already by visiting our website.
Or on LinkedIn, and we'll be doing deep dives into certain verticals within fashion. So you definitely don't want to miss that.
Definitely not.
Cool.
And I also want to give everyone here on the panel a chance to present as well, if any of the audience members wants to get in touch with you. So we can start with Carmen. How does the audience get in touch with you if they want to work
So
with
you can get in touch with me on LinkedIn. You can find me as Carmen Muley. It's spelled Muley, and then you'll find a Chinese name behind my name. So that's me. And you can also find me on paragonsocialcommerce.com.
Awesome.
Great. What about you, Alexander?
You can find me anywhere. Now you can also find me for sure on LinkedIn. On LinkedIn, Alexander L.Lischke, Lischke, and for sure you can also follow Bellbird Studios on Instagram. You can visit our website. You can become part of our journey. We're here in Germany and the German-speaking region, producing shows for anyone from super small to super big. I think the next year is not whether live shopping will grow, it's how it will grow. So whether through large-scale productions, influencer-driven shows, and so on, we are ready. So you can find us anywhere. So happy to be here. Happy to share my thoughts with everyone else. And thank you very much.
Great, thanks. What about you, Stephen?
So if obviously anyone wants to get in touch, ask any more questions, obviously Stephen Hubbard on LinkedIn, main point of call on social, but also obviously Stephen@spree.io. So if you want to drop me a line on email, Stephen@spree.io. As I say, fantastic. Thanks very much, everyone's input. Great to see you all. And exciting times ahead. As I always say, my last sort of point really is what you're doing in the live commerce and social commerce, just have fun, because authenticity is key. Yeah.
It is. And people can detect that as well, right? Yeah. I will echo what Steven said. You guys can find me at Corey at Spree. You can also find Jens at Spree. You can find both of us online, and LinkedIn. I think that's my preferred channel. So feel free to reach out. Love to connect. Love talking to people. This is just the beginning of conversations. These can go on for hours, days, months, years sometimes. So I really enjoyed this conversation, guys. Thanks to all of you for taking time out of your busy schedules to be with us. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. And I think we can look forward to all the exciting things to come in 2025. I think we're all hyped for it.
For everyone who is in attendance today, don't worry. We'll be sharing this this show with you afterwards. We'll also be sharing links to some of the resources that we mentioned on spree.io. Please do remember that we have an upcoming webinar. We'd love to see you there. We also have one coming up. Actually, before then, we'll be looking at TikTok versus live shopping on Meta. So for those of you who may be looking for alternatives, we'll be digging into that as well, which could be very relevant.
It's on the 29th of January.
Yes, so soon, just around the corner. Great. I think that was it.
Thanks, guys. Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks. Have a good one.